Hello and welcome. Today we have a few new things that we are going to be looking at. These are all things that I was super excited for. So we have the new Tom Ford quad in Peach Glamour. So we're going to take a look at this one, and we do have a few comparisons. We also have the new NATASHA Denona high blushes. So I purchased 4 of these, and we'll take a look at these duos and then the new Sisley lipsticks. So of course I had to pick these up. So we do have the new Sisley lipsticks as well. I purchased 5 of these. So let's go ahead. We're going to start off with the Tom Ford. So I already have a video on Olive Smoke. I'll leave that linked down below. And this is the palette. So we have the TF logo here. We have our magnetic closure. And this is a cream formula. Now, something to know, it does not say creme on the actual packaging. And there are a few differences that I noted in my last video as to how the textures feel compared to our original creme quads. But it is still fairly similar. However, it feels a little smoother, maybe a little more silicone-y, except for the deepest shades. So we'll talk about those because this one actually feels different than the deepest shade in the Olive Smoke as well. So let's start off with swatching. And by the way, they all had the TF stamp on these before I used it. So you can see we start off with kind of a warm gold. It's got a little bit of that burnished antique look in the gold. So there's yellow, but also a little bit of orange. Our next shade here is actually going to be a bit peachier in comparison, but you can see it's a soft peach. Again, we do have a little bit of gold in that hue. And these are both going to be more of a satin shimmer. And then our third shade here, this one is going to be a deeper, more antique coppery gold. You can see we definitely have a bit more of like a burnished copper hue in there. So these are all going to be pretty warm. These are very silky, smooth cream formulas. And then our last shade here, also a cream. You can see based on the texture here. However, it feels more like a powder. So this one's a little different. The one in the Olive Smoke felt a little more putty-like. This one actually feels more like a powder with just a touch of cream in it. So let's take a look at the eye swatches. So this palette retails for $95 US. It's still coming out to retailers. So if you haven't found it yet, don't worry. It should be popping up again. But right now it's been going in and out of stock at Cosbar. And yeah, it's been really hard to find. So our first 3 shades are considered shimmers, and the 4th shade is a matte. And as someone in the comments mentioned in my last video that perhaps this is a new formula, and that it most likely is a new formula. It's still a cream version, and it still has a lot of similarities. If you've used a lot of the Tom Ford creme quads, some of them are a little bit drier, more putty-like, and they've made some changes kind of to the formula. It's almost like they're always continually tweaking. And these are going to be a little bit more silicone texture, smoother, silky texture. And then the 4th shade there, for this one, as I mentioned, it feels more like a powder texture. You can see that it still has a little bit of that creamy finish to it, but it definitely feels more like a powder, very firmly pressed though. And not so firmly pressed that you can't pick it up easily. I just mean that it's not fluffy. And yeah, so this palette, we have a 12-month shelf life and 5.2 grams of product. So our traditional creme formula had a higher mass. We still have the same volume of product, same size quad and so forth. But this product is a little bit lighter. And so these are made in Italy. So I like this formula a lot. For me, it performs exactly the same on my eyes as the original creme formula. Again, this just has a little bit more of a silky texture for those first 3 shades, but the 4th shade is going to be a bit drier. And yeah, overall, I think it's really great. This palette itself is going to be warm. And I do, Peach Glamour, I was hoping for a little bit more peachiness in this than there really is. That 2nd shade is peach, but it's still more of a peachy gold. And the other shades are definitely more gold oriented. So it's a very warm golden palette with a touch of peach, whereas I would have preferred something a little bit more peach forward with perhaps a touch of gold instead, kind of reverse the major player here. So overall though, it's a really beautiful quad, and it's definitely one of those ones that is great for daily use. And I'm really happy with it. So I think it's a great one. Let's take a look at a few comparisons. So the first palette that came to mind is actually the new SUQQU number 14. So this here is Peach Glamour from Tom Ford. This is SUQQU number 14. It's a brand new quad that is permanent in the SUQQU range. So obviously our formulas here are not going to be cream, but I did want to compare these shades. I'm going to put this actually kind of side by side so you can really see how these compare. You can see that this is actually kind of like a slightly lighter version of the second shade, and this will be a lighter version and a little bit cooler than the first shade. And then we have a deeper peach and a brown. So you can see that, you know, if you mix these two here, you kind of get this second shade. But yeah, very, very similar color story here. But I would say that the SUQQU is a little bit more peach forward because, again, both the first and the third shade here are going to have more of a stronger peach hue. Next, this is Tom Ford Nude Dip. You can see it's going to be lighter, cooler. This is the wet dry formula, and this is going to have a frostier appearance. We're going to just put this vertically here so we can kind of keep things separate. But this second peach shade, you can see is going to be a little bit cooler in tone. Everything here is going to be cooler. This is kind of like a cooler, softer peach version. Next, this is one of the older Tom Ford Soleil palettes. This was number 3 Soleil d'Hiver, which was one of the holiday palettes several years back now. So this one is definitely very peachy. We have kind of a soft golden champagne. You can see it's lighter, followed by a soft peach, which again, it's going to be a little bit lighter, and it has a little bit more of a brighter vibe to it, but it's going to be very similar. Then we have a little bit more of a peachy taupe and a deeper brown. So this is overall lighter. Again, similar color story, but a lighter version. And then last up, this is the Olive Smoke. So I wanted to actually take a look at how the gold in the Olive Smoke compared to that in the Peach Glamour. So you can see it's going to be a little bit deeper, a little bit more coppery than the first shade here, but they are pretty close. So I'm just going to go ahead and swatch the other shades here. Just might as well while I have the palette out. But we've got a beautiful, like a brown, green, and more of a black there's a touch of brown in there. But you can see that the black is going to be a drier formula. This one feels a little bit more putty-like. It's a little bit more moist than the one in the Peach Glamour, which just feels more like a silky powder in texture. Got a little bit of a creamy texture to it, but it does feel more like a powder formula. And then last up, this is the Chanel Jeu de Lumière, and I just wanted to go ahead and swatch these shades. They're not going to be dupes, but just so you can kind of get an idea, because again, it's another peachy palette that has come out around the same time. And you can see this is definitely going to be more of a true peachy palette. The shades are going to be fairly different. The second shade is similar to the second shade in the Tom Ford, but overall, instead of having more golden tones like we have in the Tom Ford, the Chanel is going to be more peach. And again, it's going to be very warm peach, more golden peach still, but not gold with a touch of peach. So hopefully that was helpful. You know, if you wear peachy shades a lot and you just recently purchased this, I don't think that, you know, I feel like you could own both of those. You could justify those if those are shades you wear a lot. So before we move on, I just want to make a note that my makeup, I actually applied this 4 or 5 hours ago. So it's not fresh and I've been running around. So, you know, this is how everything has worn, including the lipstick. I have not eaten a meal, but I have been drinking from my water bottle, and you can see how the lipstick has held up. Let me bring you in close just so you can see the blush, the eyeshadow, and the lipstick after several hours. All right, so I did not put primer on this morning. And honestly, I need to get a new one. So couldn't find one. But you can see how everything has worn. We've got the blush and the lipstick. So overall, everything has held up really well with no intervention from me. So let's go ahead and move on to the NATASHA DENONA High Blushes. So here on the packaging, it is described as a cloudy cream cheek duo. And basically we have a you know, this is our packaging here. So this is going to be magnetic closure. We have a mirror here, but it does come with the little plastic thing here. And this is what it's going to look like. We essentially have a blush and a highlighter. You can mix them together to get more of a radiant blush. So we have a matte shade and a shimmery shade for each. So this first palette here is called Sweet Cheeks. And we can see it's a pretty creamy formula here. So this is our highlighter shade. And you can see it's going to be a nice soft pearly pink. And then our matte shade here is going to be a little bit warmer. It's almost like a soft coral pink. And let's go ahead and mix these together. So if we were to mix them, that's your radiant blush there. So I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of put a little buffed out version of each on this side so we can kind of see. You know, we'll just go like this so you can kind of see how they overlap and everything too. So we get the highlighter and the blush. Now let's take a look at our next shade. Now all the packaging you can see is going to be color coordinated to what's inside, which definitely helps when you're picking things from a drawer. So this is Simply Shy. And you can see here again, we've got another pink highlight shade here. And this is going to be a bit warmer pink. And then our blush is going to be a bit warmer too. This is going to be more of a peachy coral shade. And if we were to mix these together, then this is our radiant shade. So let me go ahead and do our little buffed out versions here. So that is Simply Shy. So you can see that Sweet Cheeks is going to be cooler than Simply Shy, but it's not going to be a super cool shade in general. We have, you know, this is, you know, leaning cool, but our blush there is neutral, leaning a little warm, and both of the shades in Simply Shy are going to be on the warmer end of the spectrum. Now, right now I'm wearing Fresh Mauve. Now, this is, I don't know why they call this mauve. It's not mauve to me. So I do want to note though that the formulas for these, they're all silky and creamy and very easy to use. My highlighter shade on this one is just ever so slightly firmer than all of my other palettes. It's still silky and creamy, but I was wondering if the depth of the pigments perhaps makes it a little texturally different. It just feels a little bit firmer overall. So just something to note. So this is Fresh Mauve, and you can see it's very warm. It's more of a rusty mauve. If you want to have mauve in there, I would definitely compare it more to like a rusty brick shade. Our highlighter here actually has a coppery glint to it. I would say that's a copper rose. And this, you know, is really going to be more of a rusty rose. And then the last one I picked up is Flirty Flush, which I don't know, this one might be my favorite. I really like this one. So you can see this is going to be a pink palette. This highlighter shade here, it's going to be neutral. We have some cooler undertones to it, but we also have warmer overtones. You can see that there is a little bit of color reflection that's more noticeable in this shade than the others there. So it's just something a little more unique. And this is a pretty neutral medium toned rose. So I really like this one. Again, this is the two shades mixed together. And yeah, this one might be my favorite of all of the ones I picked up. I really like this one, and I couldn't decide if I should get it or if it would end up being too dark for me, but I love it. So this would probably be my favorite, and I have to say this is actually going to be cooler than Sweet Cheeks. This is the coolest out of the four that I picked up. So I really like this one. Now, as we are looking at the cheek swatches and demos, what I did here is I wanted to isolate the shades. So you can see on the right side, I have the highlighter alone. On the left side, I have the blush alone. Then I went in and I did use a brush for the second application of the blush just so you could see it built up a little bit more. But then we went in and I did a mix of the blush and the highlighter together on top of the side that had the highlighter. On the other one there, we just layered the highlighter on the uppermost portion of the blush. Just so you can get an idea of how everything looks. You can see in the swatches for Fresh Mauve, it looks pretty dark on my skin. So what I'm wearing now is a Fresh Mauve. It's definitely the warmest of the 4 I picked up. And I have a lighter application that you can see in a few minutes. Now, just a few details. These blushes are 10 grams of product. They are made in Italy. They are vegan. They're not tested on animals. They're paraben-free, alcohol-free, preservative-free, mineral oil-free, and D5-free. They have an 18-month shelf life, and they retail for $42 US. There are 6 shades in this line. And according to NATASHA Denona, this is a hybrid cheek innovation. Features a unique cream blush and highlighter in a clean vegan formula, offering both semi-matte and balmy glow finishes. Enriched with nourishing ingredients, this cloudy cream cheek duo hydrates the skin while delivering a natural, buildable flush of long-wearing color. You can see I do have a long-term wear test here for the blush as well, so you can see how that really held up over a long day. And I think these blend beautifully with the skin. I think they can look really natural. So I'm really happy with the formula here. Now, a little bit more information from NATASHA Denona. It says, showcasing both a hybrid cream blush and tinted highlighter, high blush layers effortlessly and melts seamlessly into the skin, leaving the cheeks with a balmy glow and a natural flush of color without appearing heavy. With a unique and ultralight gel texture, this highly pigmented, long-wearing formula is available in 6 luxe shades to complement all skin tones. And for me, I think the best part about these blushes, I do wish that there were more cooler tone shades. I feel like the shade range, we have some of the highlighter shades seem to overlap a bit, and the shades overall skew very warm. But my favorite part is the actual formula. The formula is creamy, silky smooth to put on, but it does set down. So I wouldn't say it sets to a powder finish, but it does set down. You do have a little bit of that balmy glow. However, once I apply this to my cheeks, I don't feel that balmy texture on my skin. It's not sticky at all. So I really like that. Between the blush and the highlighter, if you're using just the blush, I feel like that dries down to more of a powder finish than the highlighter does. The highlighter feels like perhaps there's like a little bit more silicone in there that doesn't like fully dry down, if that makes sense. So overall though, I think it's a beautiful formula. I think my favorite way to wear them is probably mixed together. But what I love is just how they seem to melt into your skin to really give you that natural blend. You know, you can really blend these seamlessly on the skin. So I think it's a great formula. So let me know what you think. And let's take a look at the swatches one more time. So we're not going to do any comparisons for these, but what I will say is, in terms of formula, I feel like these are a little different than those that I already have. A lot of the more matte cream blushes that have opacity like these do, they're going to be a little bit of a drier formula or stick formula like the Westman Atelier. These are silky, smooth, very slick feeling. The difference is a lot of those slicker cream blushes that I have are going to be something that has a more sheer formula, and they're actually more glossy balmy versus this, which has a little bit more silicone balmy texture to it. So I don't have anything quite the same formula wise. So again, just going through the shades that we have one more time. So this one here is Sweet Cheeks. Then we have Simply Shy, Fresh Mauve, and this is Flirty Flush. And again, I just think it's a great formula. I do wish, again, we had some slightly cooler tone shades, but I would say Flirty Flush is probably my favorite. And then followed by Sweet Cheeks, Simply Shy, and then Fresh Mauve. Fresh Mauve, though, again, it's not mauve, but it does give that really nice rusty look for a touch of warmth. And I think it's like one of those perfect terracotta, like a cooler terracotta shade that would be great for fall. So I think it's a really great shade overall, but it's misnamed, and for me, it would work best with fall makeup. So let's go ahead and move on to the Sisley lipstick. So let's start off with the packaging. So it does come with a little sleeve. You can see we have a little V shape here to kind of allow you to see what's in there. It's a tight sleeve, so you kind of have to maneuver it out. And then this is the new packaging. So I have to say, I'm personally not a huge fan of the Sisley zebra print. You know, they always use it. I've never been a fan of it. But my pet peeve with this is matching up the top and the bottom. So I did note that they do come matched up initially. And it's one of those things where, you know, if you want to have a matching, which I personally would like to, you kind of have to look and turn it. There's no, you know, sometimes you have like maybe more of an ovoid shape. So, you know, there's only one or two ways to put it. This is totally round. So you have to twist it and find the location yourself if you want to have your lines match up. So that's my little pet peeve on the packaging. I don't love that, but you can see we have a little S here. It kind of reminds me of the Guerlain clip, but it doesn't actually function for anything. It's just there decoratively. We do have a click closure. You can see here. And these are technically refillable. I've not seen refills. And I haven't seen it mentioned that they are refillable, but they are refillable. So this one here, these are the Phyto-Rouge Velvets, and this first one is going to be number 10, Beige Nude. And this is what is on my lips right now, and I've actually been wearing this one the last few days, so I think this is my third time actually wearing this shade. And it's a great peachy nude shade, and yeah, I really like it. So just dropping my cap here. But yeah, so this is number 10, Beige Nude. And then this one here is 11, Beige Bloom. And I have to say, I thought this was going to be like the rosy nude shade. I was expecting this to be a little bit cooler than it is. You can see it is going to be fairly deep. We do have a bit more of a rosy hue to it, but it's more of a burnt rose, and it's going to be on the warmer side. So it's like a warm burnt rose. It's a very pretty shade, but not what I was expecting. Number 20, this is Rose Sweet. And this is going to be kind of their softer pink shade. You can see it's really more medium depth. And this is going to be a warm rose shade. So again, it does lean warm. It's a pretty shade, and it's still relatively close to neutral, but it definitely has a bit more of those warmer vibes to it. My two favorites actually are the two deepest ones I picked up. So we have 22 Rose Punch, and this is just a stunning berry shade here that is more like berry fuchsia mixed together. So you can see you've got kind of those cool tones in there. You do have a blue base to it. When you build it up, you see a bit more red to it. I just think it's a gorgeous shade, and I really like this one. And then the red one, this is 41 Rouge Flame. And this is a stunning neutral leaning warm red. It's neutral though. When you actually buff out the undertones, you can kind of see here, you can see a little bit of pink, you can see a little bit of orange. So it does have a neutral base to it, and you can build it up. It looks a little bit cooler when you build it up here on me, but on my lips, you'll see it looks a little bit more orange, which again is a good sign of a neutral. I have neutral skin tone, but I have cool overtones. So colors look pretty true on my skin tone, but because of those cooler overtones, sometimes you do see a slight difference between the arm and the lip. So let's take a look at these on the lips. So the Sisley Phyto-Rouge Velvets, they retail for $75 US. So I was a little taken aback by the price. And we do have 3 grams of product. They're made in Italy, and they are described as a high-intensity matte finish, as soft and luminous as velvet, offering instant and overtime protection and care, leaving lips supple, plump, and smooth. We have 12 shades. This is a new permanent line. And Sisley goes on to say that this gives you actual physical protection. It offers a surprisingly comfortable and creamy texture that glides effortlessly over lips. Its thin matte film blurs fine lines, conceals imperfections, and subtly reflects light for a flawless powdery finish. Lips are left feeling supple, soft, and plump. Ranging from nude to bright red, all shades are highly pigmented and can be worn with confidence thanks to their 8-hour wear and buildable coverage. This innovative formula creates a physical barrier on the lips, creating a protective cocoon that immediately helps reduce water loss and seals in moisture. It also offers long-term benefits. After 4 weeks of use, lips appear and feel more smooth and supple. Again, there's no mention on the Sisley website at all that these are refillable or refills are coming, but I am able to remove these and they appear to be a refillable lipstick. So hopefully that's something that's coming in the future. As for the texture of these, it's actually a really nice, comfortable product. The first thing that this reminded me on the lips are the Givenchy Deep Velvets. It has a very similar appearance on the lips, but this is going to be a thinner formula than the Deep Velvets. This actually, it's basically a silicone layer with a powdery finish. You feel that silicone texture, and that really never truly sets down. So these are going to be long wearing. You're going to have color and stain that lasts all day, but they're not transfer proof. And again, you feel that silicone texture on your lips throughout the day. It never truly 100% goes away. I would say that it's not that your lips necessarily feel more hydrated, but they always feel like they have something balmy on them. Yet we still have that powdery texture. So if you're trying to get an idea of what they feel like on the lips, consider putting like a thin layer of silicone on your lips and then putting powder on top of that. And that's kind of similar to what you're going to get. It is a very thin, comfortable feeling that really does move with you, and you can see it does offer some blur on the lips. Now, one other complaint that I have about the packaging, aside from my little pet peeve about the lines matching up, I actually would have preferred these to be in a slim style packaging, because the velvet formulas, as we've seen over the years, like in the case of like Lisa Eldridge and some other velvets, they do break when they do not have that slim style packaging. And I could already tell the very first time I used the lipstick, which was the beige nude shade, I could feel it wobble a little bit in there. Not like it's going to come out, but you can just feel that when you are applying it and you have that resistance from your lip skin versus the lipstick, you could feel a little bit of movement with the bullet. And so I don't know how that will hold up over time. So I do wish that these were in a slim style packaging so you could definitely ensure that there wouldn't be breakage, but we'll see how these wear. Let's take a look at a few comparisons. I want to start off with the traditional Le Phyto-Rouge lipsticks from Sisley, which I really love these. This one here is 44 Rouge Hollywood. So I wanted to put this one nearby, but you can see this is going to be more of a satin cream formula. You can see that these shades are pretty similar, but the Flame 41 is going to be a little bit warmer than Rouge Hollywood, which is a little bit cooler in tone. This is also a thin, silky formula, but it's more of a silky cream versus you don't feel as much of that silicone texture. And I would say that the mattes are ever so slightly thinner on the lips than these are with 1 to 2 layers. This one here is 45 Rouge Milano. We'll put this one here. You can see this is going to be more of a burgundy shade. Very different from the Flame. One of my favorites, this is in a sample. This is 21 Rose Numia, and I was expecting number 11 to be more similar to this, but you can see how different they are. One of my most used, 15 Beige Manhattan. We'll put this one right up here. You can see that Beige Manhattan is a little bit, they're pretty close. Beige Manhattan and number 10. 10 is just a little bit warmer. This is ever so slightly warmer. Beige Manhattan is ever so slightly cooler. But I would say that number 10, Beige Nude, is the velvet version of Beige Manhattan. We have 201 Rose Tokyo. Let's go ahead and put this one here. And you can see it's kind of, it doesn't quite match up with any of these, but it's kind of a mix between number 11, Beige Bloom, and 20, which is going to be our Rose Sweet. This is 27 Rose Bolshoi, which is another favorite of mine. And that is what I was expecting the Rose Sweet to be like. You can see that there is a slight difference. The Rose Belle Choix is going to be a little bit lighter. It's also a little bit cooler in tone, but it has a bit more peach in it still than the deeper rose hue that we have in the Rose Sweet. And my last one, you know, this was a recent purchase for me. This is number 24. I don't know the name because it's not actually on here, but I wanted to see how this one compares. This one's more purple than the number 22, which is Rose Punch. I also wanted to take a quick look at the Lisa Eldridge. We've got Velvet Carnival here, and I'm gonna put these down here. So we have Velvet Carnival. This is Skyscraper Rose, and you can see that's going to be a bit more brighter and more fuchsia than the Rose Punch. And then this is Rainbow Spill. That's going to be warmer. So you can see how different the Rose Punch is. All right, and then this is Givenchy Deep Velvet in 36 L'Interdit. I'll put this one right in the middle here. You can see that's going to be a little bit cooler, more ruby red. The flame shade is going to be more similar to the Dior 999, which I apparently don't have anymore, but I must have had a sample or something. So anyway, yeah, this is going to be a beautiful shade, but it's going to be neutral, a little bit more warmth to it. So I hope this has been helpful. Let's just do a quick summary of everything we talked about today. We start off with the Tom Ford Peach Glamour Quad, which is a great, you know, golden peach palette for everyday use. I think it's a really nice, smooth, creamy texture to it. Really easy to use and blend out, performs well, and I have to say, I think it's a great warm quad. So if you're interested in warmer shades, this is a nice one. If you're interested in cooler tone shades, this one, it's too warm. So overall, I think it's a really nice palette, but I do wish that it was a little bit less gold forward and a little bit more peach forward. And then we went and we discussed the NATASHA Denona blushes, which I think they're a great formula. Again, her color range, it's a bit warm. And I do wish that there were a little bit more differences in some of the shades, as well as some cooler tone shades. But the formula itself is so beautiful and easy to use. And I think it holds up really well and just kind of blends seamlessly into the skin. And then we finished off with the Sisley lipsticks. And one more time, just to go over the shades, we have number 10, Beige Nude, 11, Beige Bloom, 20, Rose Sweet, 22, Rose Punch, and 41, Rouge Flame. And I think it's a really nice matte formula. It's smooth and silky in texture. You definitely feel that silicone in there. It's long wearing. It's very light and thin on the lips. It does give you a little bit of blur. I think it's a nice formula. Part of me, though, I'm tired of feeling so much silicone in products, so I wish there was a little bit less, but I'm happy with them. So I think they are nice. I still do prefer their formula in the regular Le Phyto-Rouge and the satin formulas. So that's still going to be my favorite between these, but I think this is a nice formula. And I did mention a couple of cons, in my opinion, with the packaging. So I hope that was helpful. I'd love to know your thoughts. Please share them down below in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Have a great day.